Rishi Sunak has become Britain's third Prime Minister this year, replacing Liz Truss and inheriting a range of problems. At the age of 42, the former Finance Minister is the country's youngest Prime Minister in 200 years, and he's also become the first of Asian heritage to hold the post. He succeeds Liz Truss, who he lost to in a leadership contest in the summer. But after her resignation last week, Sunak was the only candidate to pass a threshold of 100 votes in a ballot of Conservative MPs. In his first speech as Prime Minister, he said the UK was in a profound economic crisis.
I've just been to Buckingham Palace and accepted His Majesty the King's invitation to form a government in his name. It is only right to explain why I'm standing here as your new Prime Minister. Right now, our country is facing a profound economic crisis. The aftermath of COVID still lingers. Putin's war in Ukraine has destabilized energy markets and supply chains the world over. I want to pay tribute to my predecessor, Liz Truss. She was not wrong to want to improve growth in this country. It is a noble aim. And I admired her restlessness to create change. But some mistakes were made. Not born of ill will or bad intentions. Quite the opposite, in fact. But mistakes nonetheless. And I have been elected as leader of my party and your Prime Minister, in part, to fix them. And that work begins immediately. I will place economic stability and confidence at the heart of this government's agenda. This will mean difficult decisions to come.
Let's cross live to Westminster, where Arise Chief Correspondent John Cookson has been monitoring all the developments. John, good to have you. Very busy day. What did you make of Rishi Sunak's speech in Downing Street?
Hi, ladies. Great to see you and great to be on Newsday as always. Well, you know, I thought it was pretty good compared with the speech that he made, which was rather robotic yesterday at Conservative Party headquarters. He appeared confident. He said all the right things, ticked all the right boxes, and it was quite a long speech, apparently the second longest in UK history on the steps of Downing Street, 6 minutes 56 seconds long for Rishi Sunak, the 57th UK Prime Minister. As I say, I thought it was pretty good. He warned the British people of difficult decisions ahead, and that's the understatement as far as the British economy is concerned. And so he was right, of course, to warn people of that. But he also promised to stick by the 2019 manifesto, which swept the Tories into power with a thumping 80-seat majority back in 2019. He promised more and a stronger NHS, National Health Service, safer streets, and he would tackle immigration. Well, all this is, you know, standard stuff. I think the key part of the speech was the warning that difficult economic times lay ahead. Now, we know that there's a budget statement on Monday presented by Jeremy Hunt, the Chancellor of the Exchequer or Finance Minister, and we'll find out more what increases in taxes are going to take place in the coming months and years, and also cuts in public spending. Now, Rishi Sunak didn't make any reference to that, but it was implied with what he said about difficult decisions being taken. So, yes, I thought he did rather well, and he's now in Downing Street putting together his cabinet.
And let's take a look at what that looks like. After a speech that has been reviewed as being so hugely realistic, what are we expecting from him throughout the day today?
Well, as I say, he'll be getting round into his office and get properly settled into Downing Street He'll want to hit the ground running because he knows he's got a very short honeymoon period to get everything right, and he and his staff will be making calls to various politicians, inviting them to come to Downing Street this afternoon and be appointed as ministers, some of them cabinet ministers, some of them not. I hear that Kemi Badenoch is likely to be one of those called, and she may be offered education secretary or the main education minister, which will be a huge step up for her. At the moment, she's Trade Secretary. Kemi Badenoch, of course, of Nigerian heritage, born in Wimbledon in southwest London, but her parents are Nigerian, and she spent a lot of her early life in Lagos. Jeremy Hunt, the current finance minister, likely to stay in place. Question mark this afternoon over Grant Shapps as Home Secretary or Interior Minister. Whether he'll keep that job, we'll have to wait and see. There seems to be a return for Suella Braverman, who was Home Secretary briefly under the Truss administration. She left in a huff and is expecting, I understand, to be called back to take part in a Sunak Cabinet. And maybe a return for Dominic Raab, the former Deputy Premier, and also Michael Gove, who's held several cabinet positions. So an extremely busy afternoon this afternoon for Rishi Sunak. He'll want to balance out his cabinet and not make the same mistake as Liz Truss did, because she surrounded herself with yes men and women. Sunak has the brains to say, look, I need people from all factions of the party. Some of them may not even be his friends, you know. He needs to appeal to the right, to the centre, to the left, to reunite the party, because uniting the party is so important at this time.
Indeed. Now, what do you think his chances are when it comes to uniting the fractured Conservative Party?
It all depends, as I say, on what his cabinet looks like, and the rapport that Rishi Sunak can have with the other factions. There was the Boris faction, the Liz Truss supporting factions. Was the extreme Brexiteers element of the party. Sunak himself is a Brexiteer. He believes in Brexit, and the Europeans will be interested to see what stand he takes on that. So he's got a very difficult task, not only trying to settle the economy down and bring some solution and some health back into the economy, but also to try to unite the party. And he'll do that using his own personal charisma, which he'll frankly need to develop, and call everyone together, because he told the party yesterday, unite or die, and those are pretty strong words. Let's hope that he can do that for the Conservative Party.
All right. Well, that is our Arise Chief Correspondent, John Cookson from Westminster. Thank you so much for those updates.